A couple of years ago, my wife Renee and I went to Chattanooga to visit with relatives. While we were there, we did our excursion thing. We went looking for ghosts. We walked through a haunted cemetery. We did a ghost tour through the downtown streets of Chattanooga and a jaunt around the haunted Civil War battlefield of Chickamauga. Not all on the same day, though. We got some strange stuff, but nothing super scary. That is, until we discovered the Delta Queen. The Delta Queen is an old school style steamboat, typical of what you might see during the Tom Sawyer Huckleberry Finn days. It was built in the 1920s and its first voyage was in 1927. The Delta Queen was once used for transporting goods, and later the Navy used the ship during World War II to carry wounded soldiers to hospitals. So the ship is a war hero. Mary B. Green was one of the founders of the Delta Queen Steamboat Company, and she was the first female pilot to navigate this type of vessel. She was sweet, caring, and loved by all that met her. Due to her motherly tendencies, she was dubbed Ma Green by her closest friends. She wanted the riverboat to be a family-friendly atmosphere so everyone could feel welcome. Therefore, she prohibited alcohol to be sold or drank on the boat. She received a lot of pushback from the crew and visitors who rode the ship. Still, very opinionated, she held strong to her beliefs. She was a teetotaler. In 1949, Ma Green passed away in her cabin, room 109. While many tried to uphold her beliefs and honor her wishes, a family member decided to set up a saloon on the boat shortly after she passed on. Just minutes after the first cocktail was served on the American riverboat, a tugboat unexpectedly crashed into the huge ship. When it did, it completely destroyed the saloon area. After the tugboat was removed from the Delta Queen, the crew noticed something else very unforeseen and strange. The tugboat was named Captain Mary B. This was just the start of some very mysterious and freaky events that were about to happen. Here we go. We initially arrived to do a self-guided tour of the boat. Just look around and take in the nostalgia. We had never been on a paddle boat before and found it very immersive. It had been completely renovated back to its glory days of the 1920s. It was like stepping back in time. The cabins were very small. Most were too small for a couple. They even had rotary telephones in them. But they had Wi-Fi. The walnut-colored wood trim and brass handrails gave the enchanting feel of a distant past. The rooms had the distinct smell of time forgotten, meaning they smelled musty. After an hour or so of walking around and exploring the historic vessel, we came upon one of the crew members. I asked them, "Have you ever seen any ghosts on the boat?" He replied, "Almost every day. It's usually something small, like keys rattling, unusual cold spots, or hearing someone talking when no one else is on board." "Is there a way for us to do a paranormal investigation on the ship?" "Sure. Give me your phone number and I'll have the owner contact you." I gave the crewman my phone number and we left. Later that evening, the owner of the Delta Queen called. I asked if we could spend the night there and do a paranormal investigation. They said yes, but advised us not to provoke the spirits. The spirits are generally very nice and like to be treated the same. I agreed to the conditions, and we set something up for the next day. Being very anxious to do the investigation, we didn't get much sleep. She couldn't sleep, which meant I couldn't sleep. The next day came very quickly. We packed our clothes, cameras, and other paranormal equipment and excitedly drove to the dock. We met with Dave, the owner, and he asked if we had a preference for a room. I asked which ones were the most haunted. He said that room 109, Ma Green's cabin, was the one with the most activity. We ended up getting two, since the rooms were just too small for both of us to sleep in one room. I got room 109, and Renee was next door in room 110, which is also said to have paranormal activity. She's not getting out that easy. We unpacked for the night, put fresh batteries in everything, and charged our phones. The staff was minimal. There was no one working the bar or restaurant, so we went out to eat dinner. When we got back, it was starting to get dark. The lighting on the riverboat was low, the equivalent of candles or lanterns being lit. The wood creaked against the dock. It only added to the creep factor. We went back to our rooms to get ready to investigate this historic ship. Chomping at the bit at this point. As I was organizing my equipment, I heard Renee call out, "Perry, come here, now!" I dropped everything and quickly went to her room. When I got there, she was standing in front of the bed with her hand over her mouth. "What is it?" I asked. "Things are not where I left them. They've been moved around." Her clothes were scattered around the room. The phone receiver was off the hook, and I could hear that annoying hang up the phone sound. All of her toiletries were in a pile in the sink. Oh, right. Now she's blaming the ghost for her incoherent coordination. She grabbed her phone and started snapping pictures of everything. I went to my room to grab some things to join in. When I got there, I noticed my things were moved around too. Not as much as hers, but things weren't where I left them just minutes ago. On top of that, my room had a definite chill to it. It was at least 3 or 4 degrees colder in my room than it was in Renee's. I looked around for my Ghost Finder EMF thing. I found it in the bathroom, of all places. The ghost is trying to tell me that this thing is a piece of shit. I turned it on and headed back to Renee's room. She was reviewing the pictures she took earlier. They all seemed pretty normal, except for one. It showed a white mist in the corner. Nothing definitive, but definitely strange. I walked around her room with my ghost finder. It was silent. The needle moved a little bit, but not enough to light it up and beep. I started recording video at the same time. So my hands were full. The lighting in the room was so dark, I could barely make out anything on the screen. I turned on my headlamp and continued surveying the room. After several minutes, things calmed down. We decided to explore my room, or more appropriately, Ma Green's room. When we got there, the room was noticeably cooler than the other room. It had the slight smell of perfume wafted in the air. I pulled up the voice recorder app on my phone and asked, "Ma Green, can you hear me? Can you give us a sign of your presence?" I played it back. "Ma Green, can you hear me? Can you give us a sign of your presence?" "Who are you?" I started recording again. Renee said, "I love your boat. It's very beautiful. Are you all right with us being here?" I played it back. "I love your boat. It's very beautiful. Thank you. Are you all right with us being here?" No response. That means she's not all right with us being there. I scanned the room with my ghost finder. I got some small hits in different parts of the room. Nothing I would definitely call paranormal. It could be electronic interference from the old wiring in the room. I turned it off and started to put it away when we heard footsteps coming from above us. It sounded like hard-soled shoes walking slowly. We looked at each other with huge eyes. "Let's go!" We both left the room and bounded up the stairs to the deck above us. Oh, fuck yeah, we're Ramboing it. We approached the hall where the footsteps came from. When we rounded the corner, a white mist-like fog floated through the wall in front of us. Startled, we took a step back. Both our phones were recording video. It was shaky due to we don't use a gimbal, and we were now scared shitless. And that's a massive understatement. I crept closer to where the apparition disappeared. I got to a few feet away, and we heard a loud bang come from deep within the ship. I dropped my phone. Renee screamed and backed out of the room. I half-heartedly followed. I wanted to see where the bang came from. Renee didn't. She wanted to stay in the room for a little bit and calm down first. I agreed, and we stayed put for a few minutes. In hindsight, it was a good idea. About 30 minutes later, we were composed enough to continue searching. We made our way to the lower decks. We got to the engine room and set up there. It was dark and very creepy. We had headlamps beaming, but Renee's headlamp suddenly went dark. Shit! My light went out! She tried desperately to get her headlamp turned back on, but the battery was dead. Use your flashlight on your phone. She got her flashlight app on and noticed the battery on her phone. I'm at 25%. I won't have much time to use it before my phone dies. So, TikTok? I was scanning with the ghost finder when it suddenly started going crazy. The spot where I was at was very cold. I could almost see my breath. I turned around to check on Renee and saw a ghostly figure standing behind her. It was wearing clothing reminiscent of the 1920s. She noticed the surprised look on my face and shouted, "What? What is it?" She saw where I was looking and turned around. When she did, it disappeared. I hate it when they do that. I was recording video the whole time. I know I documented it. As we were quietly standing in the engine room, I could barely hear talking, echoing in the distance. It sounded like two men talking. I couldn't hear what they were saying. I asked if she could hear it. She whispered, "Yeah." We couldn't tell where it was coming from. After about a minute, the talking stopped. A few minutes later, we again heard footsteps above us. "Let's go," I said, and led the way out of the engine room. So it was like an episode of Scooby-Doo. We went up the stairs of the main deck and heard glasses clinking in the saloon. Thinking someone has to be there, we went to the saloon. No one was there. Starting to get quite freaked out, we decided to take another short break. After half an hour or so, we ventured back out of the room. Renee suggested that we check out the wheelhouse. I agreed, and we headed in that direction. As we approached the doorway to the wheelhouse, we could hear a creaking noise, like a squeaky wooden floor. I opened the door and looked in. Here we go. What I saw, well, changed me forever. I saw the vaporous shape of a woman in period dress holding the ship wheel and staring out at the front of the boat. I stumbled out, terrified. I nearly shit myself. Renee wanted to see what it was, so she peeked in. She quickly backed out and slammed the door. That is a ghost," she said. "I'll bet it was Ma Green." I was at a loss for words. Wide-eyed, I just shook my head and said, "Let's get back to the room." Renee objected and said, "No, I want to communicate with her," and bravely walked into the wheelhouse. I reluctantly followed. Okay, let's go. The spirit was no longer there, but my ghost finder was going bonkers. I turned it off and fired up the voice recorder. I nodded at Renee to ask some questions. "Are you angry that your family put a bar on your boat after you died, against your wishes? Did you have something to do with the tugboat that ran into your ship and destroyed the saloon?" We played it back. "Are you angry that your family put a bar on the boat after you died, against your wishes?" "Yes." "Did you have something to do with the tugboat that ran into your ship and destroyed the saloon?" Just then, the recorder shut off. The battery was dead already. I had just recharged it. "Okay, that's about all I can handle. Let's get back to the room," I said, as I had already started walking back. I was done. We got back to the room. We were both amped up beyond belief. If we were going to get some sleep, we needed to calm down. Luckily, we brought some booze. We each had a flask. Mine, of course, had bourbon. Renee's had vodka. We each nervously unscrewed the cap and started drinking. Ooh. After a couple of seconds, something knocked the flask out of my hand. I didn't drop it. It was definitely smacked out of my hand. My hand stung like somebody had smacked it. It hit the ground and started spilling out on the floor. Renee almost dropped hers as the shock of what happened to me hit her. I reached down to pick it up and it scooted under the bed. I jumped back. I heard a whisper in my ear. No. I could feel the cool breath hit my ear from their mouth. Fuck that noise. I quickly rubbed my ear like a bug was buzzing around it. Okay, I think maybe we just need to get the hell out of here, I said. I agree, Renee responded. We gathered our things, I left the flask behind, and went back to the car. We noped the fuck out of there. It was too late in the night to go back to my relative's house, so we slept in the car. The next morning, we woke up and drove back to the house. I excitedly pulled up the video footage on my phone to check out the evidence. When I played the MP4 files, they came back as corrupted and wouldn't play. Only an error message. Oh man, inside I was raging, but I kept my cool. Renee checked her camera for the pictures that she took. They were blacked out, blurry, or just wouldn't display. Not a coincidence. The voice recorder worked, except now where we once heard the electronic voice phenomenon was just static. Needless to say, we didn't have any evidence, only personal experiences. But what an incredible personal experience. I'll never again discount personal experiences when I watch ghost investigation videos. They can be scarier than the evidence itself. Ooh.